Hello everyone, it's Chris again. Welcome to my spoiler review for Transformers The Last Night. My spoiler-free review went up on Wednesday, and in this video I'm going to go into ins and outs and spoilers of what I thought about the movie and just what happened in certain scenes. So if you don't want to get spoiled about the movie, don't watch this video. And if you don't care, then go ahead and watch and see what I really thought about this movie and the ins and outs and whatnot. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started talking about this movie.
What was that? That was a mistake.
So by now, we're all aware of the critical reception that this movie has garnered. Currently, I think it's at 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is the worst, means it's the worst reviewed of the series. And I've gone and I've seen the movie twice. I went Tuesday night, Optimus Prime time, the IMAX 3D event, and I saw it then. And I had to say, coming out of it, even though I'm a Movieverse fan and there was a lot about the movie I enjoyed, I did come out saying, oh my God, I'm just going to have a hard time defending this movie just because a lot of it just was not up to snuff, mainly the story, and which is why I just thought it was a big stinker for a lot of people. Even though I thought there was some entertainment to be had, I just came out of the movie thinking, well, I don't know. Whatever reviews it gets, I won't be surprised. But then I saw it again Saturday night, once again in IMAX 3D, just to sort of really see how the movie was a second time. And I gotta say that a lot of my problems that I had with the movie, mainly the plot and storytelling, just were not as bad the second time around. And I actually had a pretty fun time watching it. As a Movieverse fan, I had a fun time watching it the second time just because I was prepared for the stuff that was going to be in the film. And overall, I did think it worked a lot better. Now, I'm still not going to let that section of the movie, mainly that middle portion of the movie, off the hook, but because I still think it is really flawed. But overall, the movie did feel better, and it gave me left more of a good impression for me of what I felt about the movie. So I think the best way to talk about this movie is to really split it into thirds: first third, second third, and then the final battle, that whole final third, really. So let's go ahead and start talking about the first third of the movie. Which the first third of the movie, which I guess you could say the first 40 or 50 minutes or so, I thought was absolutely brilliant. Everything was on point. I mean, the opening with Merlin and the Knights, I thought that was a fantastic opening. I love the opening set piece with the TRF, Bumblebee and Cade fighting against those guys. The action and effects was great. I loved Megatron in the first half. All of Megatron's scenes were just so damn good. I mean, his design is fantastic, but I just love seeing all of his scenes were just so much fun. Like the Suicide Squad scene, the scene where he's asking for his crew in the desert, he's interacting with Lennox and those lawyers. That was so good. I love that we got to see a whole bunch of transformations in the first third of the movie. Those all looked really good. Bumblebee had some cool stuff, even though I don't like that reforming ability of his. Visually, it looked really cool. But Hound got to transform, Drift and Crosshairs got to transform, all that stuff. All the Decepticons got to transform. It was great. I thought the pacing was really good. The movie flowed nice. The scenes, next up, the scenes with Optimus and Quintessa, which really sets up what the main plot of the movie was going to be. I thought those scenes visually were fantastic. I love it when they have these scenes where it's just CG environment and the Transformers interacting with each other, like the scene with Megatron and Starscream on the Nemesis and Revenge of the Fallen. That scene was great, and all of the scenes with Optimus, well, I guess there were like three of them with Optimus and Quintessa together. Those scenes were great as well. And I thought the human element was really good also. Cade, he comes back, and I like the role that he's playing with the Autobots now. Sort of, he's rogue now, and I like the dynamic of him missing his daughter. That was really good. I love Vivian. I mean, the actress who plays her, Laura Haddock, she's just a lovely, lovely looking woman. But I did think that she was a likable character, and I enjoyed seeing what her place and role in all of this was. I thought Sir Edmund Burton, played by the great Anthony Hopkins, I enjoyed him. I liked sort of his role as sort of knowing the history of Transformers and whatnot, and being the keeper of all these secrets. Even though there's some stuff with him in the second third of this movie that does not work, I'll get onto that. But overall, I thought he was fun. And the other character, Isabella, I thought she was good as well. I like the setup for her in that TRF scene. That was good. They set her up to be a nice character and set her up to be an even better character with those scenes with her and Cade in the junkyard. Her just talking about her past and those two interacting while they're trying to fix Bumblebee. I thought that was really good as well. But the absolute highlight of that first third of the movie were the scenes in the junkyard, and mainly those robot scenes, man. Oh my God, the Autobot team dynamic was just so damn cool, man. The personalities, the characterization of the team, Bumblebee, Hound, Drift, Crosshairs, Grimlock, the baby Dinobots, and Wheelies, seeing all of those guys, man. Those scenes were just so good because the humor, I thought, worked really well for the humans in the first part of the movie and the robots, man. There were just some really, really funny one-liners and moments like Bumblebee getting the wrong voice, turned out to be the Siri voice. That was good. Hound, him getting jokes made at the expense of him being like fat. He's a chunky bot, what Crosshairs called him. That was great as well. The stuff with Grimlock eating the car, that was fun. I just thought that the first part of this movie was just so damn good, and those junkyard scenes, man, were great. Like Day Trader, a new robot character, and how he had Starscream's head, that was great. And then this all leads into the set piece of the Decepticons coming in with the help of the TRF after the Autobots. And that whole set piece was really good. It takes place in that abandoned town, and it was really cool as well. I like that the Decepticons had some unique personalities, even though most of them went out really quickly. That was still really cool to see. And before that, I really enjoyed it was such a nice touch, that scene they had with Megatron holding Starscream's head and sort of lamenting the fact that even though Starscream was treacherous, he wasn't able to see the end of the war, because I loved the relationship that those two had in those first three movies. So that was great as well. So that's really everything that was great in that first third of the movie. I thought the first third of the movie was just getting off to such an absolute killer start, man. And I thought I was in for the best Transformers movie yet. And then we move into the second third of the movie, which is really when Cogman, he comes to collect Cade and Bumblebee, and then Vivian gets kidnapped by Hot Rod, and he brings her in, and that brings us to the second part of the movie. And let's start off with the good, which was the introduction to Hot Rod. I thought Hot Rod was sort of the standout new character in the movie. I mean, Squeaks was good also. I really enjoyed him. But Hot Rod was just fantastic, man. Even though forget the fact that he's nothing like the original Hot Rod, he's just a really fun character, man. You can tell that he's the guy that really loves what he does. He's got a playful personality. The French accent, I thought, worked pretty well. They had like a nice vocal effect to it, where it was sort of like a weird echo effect from what I can remember. But I thought Hot Rod was a lot of fun, and the scene with him and Vivian was great as well. I love that line that she gives where, am I being captured by one of the famous ones, Soundwave, Shockwave? So that was great also. But then let's talk about really the meat of that second third. And that's where we get the introduction, or really get what the plot of this movie really is, which is sort of everything tying back to the King Arthur legend and just the legacy of the Witwickens, and how Cade and Vivian, they sort of have to find the staff which will end up saving Earth from the upcoming threat of Cybertron and the fact that Unicron is actually Earth. And the problem is with the movie isn't that set up. It's just the way that it's told, man. And this is the part of the movie where I was just like, oh no. Because even though the stuff where Burton explaining to them is okay, like the flashback with Bumblebee and Hot Rod and World War II, that was fun, and just showing the history of the Witwickens, including the picture of Sam Witwicky, that was great. This is just where the movie really sort of lost itself and really committed the cardinal sin that I think a Transformers movie cannot do, which is sideline the Transformers, because all of the robots are just MIA are just completely sidelined in this part, except for Cogman, who Cogman was a, I, I didn't enjoy him a whole lot the first time I saw it. The second time I thought he was pretty funny, but he's really the only uh, uh, robot that we see in this part of the movie. And really, this part of the movie, it's just like 30 minutes of just fast paced, rapid, just go from here to here to here, chasing after stuff. And I just think it's not done well at all, man. It's just not good storytelling because really a story should flow naturally. Just good pacing. There shouldn't just be rapid, rapid, rapid. No character development. No real like sitting down to really process what's going on. It's just like, okay, all this information, go, 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 go. And it was this part in the movie just was just not working for me. And this is actually the part of the movie where I thought the humor just was getting forced a lot of the times. Like some of the stuff with Vivian's parents thinking Kate and Vivian were having sex, I just thought wasn't working really well. Hopkins has a few jokes, which some of them are funny, but it's just too much forced comedy. Cogman has some forced bits, like when he was telling them, move, bitch, get out of the way when he's driving. That was just too much. And really, this portion of the movie, especially on the first viewing, was really just, I was cringing in my seat, just going, what the hell happened to this movie? The second time I saw it wasn't nearly as bad, maybe because I was prepared for it, but I just can't let this section of the movie off the hook just because it just wasn't done well. Like the concept of King Arthur and this mythology, that's not bad. That's not bad stuff, but it's just how you tell it and sort of the storytelling and plot lines that you're going through was bad. And like I said, just felt so rushed and just really choppily edited together, which I'd be amazed if this movie did not have a whole bunch of deleted scenes because it's in this part of the movie that it did feel like there was a lot of them. So that whole portion of the movie leads us to the end of the second third and the beginning of the first third, which is basically, well, probably still, yeah, I would say around that part is where we get to the stuff on the submarine. Well, they use the submarine, Cade, Vivian, and Bumblebee, to get to the underground Cybertronian ship. And after a brief struggle, they get the staff, and this is where Optimus comes back. And this is where it's really interesting to look at how at times movies really, really can have false advertising because a lot of the trailers for the movies sold the movie on Optimus Prime being evil. That's what the movie was selling you on, and that's not a large part of this movie at all. I mean, because Optimus is gone for a lot of the movie. Like after that first 40 minutes or so, he's just not there a lot until we get to this scene where he's coming back as Nemesis Prime. And it's this part of the movie. And really, this whole section is really all that you're going to get of Evil Optimus. He comes back under her control, gets the staff, and that leads to the whole big fight that they've been showing with him and Bumblebee, which I actually thought was a pretty good fight. I didn't like the fact that they cut a lot in between it. Like they would show like maybe 10 or 15 seconds of the fight, then cut to Cade and Lennox running around, then another 20 or 15 seconds, then cut. I wish it was more of a big flowing battle, but the stuff that they did show I thought was really cool. Seeing Optimus and Bumblebee fight is something that obviously we hadn't seen in the previous four films, so that was a good dynamic to see. And that whole leads to how Bumblebee stops Optimus, which is Bumblebee actually talks, which initially I thought came out of nowhere, but an explanation that I've seen is that Bumblebee, the staff is what fixed Bumblebee's voice. I guess I could roll with that, whatever. But I thought the voice actually sounded pretty good. I guess maybe if he was to talk, my idea, I think I would have him sound maybe a little bit younger, but the voice still sounded pretty good. And what I did like is that I did feel the friendship between both Cade and Bumblebee, and Cade and Optimus. Him and Optimus have some really nice moments. And even though I didn't like the fact that the movie sort of mismarketed an evil Optimus being a large part of the movie, I do love Optimus Prime being a hero, man. And this is where we're definitely in the final third of the movie. And this is where the movie did start to win me back over. And it was because of Optimus Prime being a hero. the way he was able to rally the troops and the sense of heroism that he gave and the friendship he had with Cade and Bumblebee and how he was imploring them that no, we are going to stop Megatron and Quintessa. I thought was really nice. And all the Autobots come back in, the whole team, and that leads us to the final battle of the movie. And I mentioned previously that I was I thought the final battle was okay the first time I saw it, not great. Um, and I'm not going to call this final battle great, but I did think but it was a lot more fun the second time I saw it. I liked how it was a new concept of something we hadn't seen before. The previous three out of the four films have had city battles. This was definitely not a city battle. It was a cool concept having Cybertron crash into Earth, and now we have to use ships and whatnot to navigate all around, and then actually get onto Quintessa's ship and whatnot. I thought that was pretty fun. I thought it had a decent mix of robot action and military action because you can get into trouble if you show too much military action in a Transformers film. I thought the robot action was pretty good. I liked the team dynamic of the Autobots working together was really good. The absolute highlight of the scene was the part where Optimus Prime is fighting Infernicus. First, Optimus is riding Dragonstorm. Dragonstorm sort of takes Infernicus out a little bit. Then Optimus fights Infernicus one-on-one. And that was just such a great moment, especially the part where he's like, you know who I am? I'm Optimus Prime. And then he cuts Infernicus, slices his all their heads off in one blow. And then he says, I'm Optimus Prime. And that got a big kick out of the audience both times that I saw the movie. That was really good. And then the whole thing ends with them on the ship and them sort of fighting Megatron and the remaining Decepticons. And I thought that part was fun. The only Autobots that went on there were Optimus, Bumblebee, and Hound, and they were all helping Cade and Vivian get the staff to stop Quintessa from doing something. It's still not clear to me what exactly she was doing. She was doing some bad shit. That's all. That's what I can get from it. So they ended up stopping Quintessa. I do like the fact that they did not kill Quintessa off, and I like the moment that Optimus and Bumblebee have where Quintessa, she's sort of trapping Optimus in sort of a frozen state, and then Optimus is all like, say hi to my friend Bumblebee, and then he sort of knocks her into like this weird blue teleportation thing, so she doesn't die. But that was a great moment that him and Bumblebee had together. So overall, it ended up being a cool final battle. It ended really nicely with Optimus saving both Cade and Vivian in midair. And then you see all the dust from the ship on the ground, and then Optimus drives off, comes out of it, him and Bumblebee in vehicle mode. That was really nice, and that's really then in the movie right there. And so it ends with the Autobots. I thought this was interesting. Cybertron is just parked on Earth, you know, from what I remember. And Optimus and all the Autobots get on the Autobot ship, which is really just Lockdown ship. I'm not sure why they're calling it the Autobot ship, but or whatever. They're all on the ship and sort of saying all Autobots were going home, I guess, to fix Cybertron and Earth. So that leads us with the setup for TF6. And so what my overall thoughts about the movie are is that these story filmmakers, they just need to find a better way to tell a story. These long scenes of exposition and just going on a wild chase just are not the way to go. And those problems are really in the second third of this movie, which is where really all my problems were, man. I think if you lined up the first third of the movie, and then if you had like that final third, I think you would have a really fun movie. But it's that middle section of the movie that just does not work as a movie, and it just doesn't work as a Transformers movie also, just because the robots are just MIA in that portion of the movie, except for Cogman. And that's just what you cannot do in a Transformers movie. And I'd be really curious to see how people would have thought about this movie had it not been for that middle portion of the movie. Because believe me, when I saw the movie the first time, I thought that middle portion was just an absolute shit show. Okay. I was just like, oh my goodness, please don't do it. And luckily the movie did redeem itself with that final third. But ultimately, I mean, the damage was done, and sort of you can see how this movie's been sort of received by everyone. You can just look at the thumbnails for all the reviews on YouTube and get a pretty good idea of what people thought of this movie. My original score, I sort of dilly-dallied. I was between a 5 or a 5.5. Based on my second viewing and the first viewing, I'm going to combine it, and I'm actually going to bump the score up to a 6 out of 10. I think that I think that I think it's a decent watch. I mean, me as a movieverse fan, I'm always going to find enjoyment out of a movie. But for me, there was a great first third of the movie, bad second third, and a fun final third. So you do the percentages, I think that lines up to a nice 6 out of 10 is what I'm going to give it, which is a decent movie. But, just because of how the second third of the movie was, I'm not going to blame anyone for giving the sort of negative reviews that they're going to give. And those negative reviews have sort of led to where the future of the franchise has to go, because forget what story elements they want to bring. When you see how the box office for this movie is, not great. Not great at all. Stateside. Internationally, doing fine, but stateside, it's having a bit of a problem. But I'm going to get into that in sort of my box office analysis for this movie in a video that you're going to see pretty soon, or might even be up by the time I post this one, so look out for that. But anyways, those are my overall spoiler thoughts of Transformers The Last Knight. Overall, as a movieverse fan, I thought there was some enjoyment out of it, even though the movie just made some really, really bad mistakes. But that's enough rambling for now. Leave your comments, please. I implore you. Leave your comments in the comment section if you've seen the movie and what you think, because I do want to see someone post something about what they thought about a movie when I review it. So those are my thoughts. I hope you all enjoyed this review, and I'll see y'all around with another vid.